I've never been careless in this work. Not once. Funeral service is built on two things: trust and time. Families trust us to care for their dead with dignity. And time, well, time's always against us. The longer a body goes without preservation, the more difficult it is to restore, to present, to honor. Which is why I never leave a case unembalmed overnight, except once. It wasn't neglect, it wasn't forgetfulness. It was a judgment call made under pressure, and I regret it more than anything else I've done in my 22 years as a mortician. It was late October. We'd had a backlog, combination of staffing shortages, 2 unexpected removals, and an HVAC repair that delayed our cooler temps for half a day. I'd been running on caffeine and instinct for the better part of a week. That afternoon, we received the remains of a middle-aged woman. Natural death. Medical release complete. Family requested an open casket service with full prep, no autopsy, clean case. I began the usual intake: body bag unzipped, toe tag confirmed, facial inspection, condition of tissue checked. Time of death was just over 14 hours prior, still within acceptable window. But when I palpated the femoral, I noticed lividity had already set hard on the posterior, more than expected. Still, I planned to embalm immediately after the current case was done. The tray beside me held another decedent, an older gentleman I'd been working on for nearly 2 hours. Raised carotid, drainage complete, cavity work half done, and then the call came. Emergency removal, assisted living facility, family en route, no other staff on site to cover. I had a choice. Either delay the older gentleman's prep mid-procedure, which is risky and borderline unethical, or delay the new intake's embalming until morning. I made the call. Secure her body on the second prep table, cover her fully, and place a do not disturb sign on the tray. I set the cooler to its lowest permissible temp, logged the time, and told myself I'd be back at 6 a.m. sharp to begin arterial injection. I didn't sleep well that night. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was fatigue finally catching up, or maybe it was something else entirely. Because around 2:30 in the morning, I woke up to the sensation that something was left open, like a door or a thought. I told myself I was overreacting. By 5:40 I was back at the funeral home. The prep room was cold, dark. I like it that way, controlled, clinical. I flipped on the overheads and walked in. The first thing I noticed was the tray. Not the one I'd left mid-prep. The one with the older gentleman now resting properly dressed on the table, ready for cosmetics. No, it was the second table. Hers, still unembalmed, covered in a crisp white sheet, head slightly elevated on the riser, still, undisturbed. Except I heard it. Low, whispered. Not a voice in the air, not an echo. It came from the table itself, from beneath the steel tray. A soft, deliberate series of sounds, like someone murmuring, not words exactly, just breath moving through teeth. Intentional, rhythmic, almost resentful. I froze. Morticians are trained not to spook. You can't flinch in this job. You're surrounded by death daily. You compartmentalize. But I'll tell you the truth. I stood there, hands still on the light switch, and did not move for over a minute. The whispers stopped as suddenly as they began. The air in the room felt dense. Not warm, just heavy. Like the room itself was holding its breath. I walked to the tray. Slowly. I checked everything. Body position unchanged, sheet untouched. No shifting, no movement, no air release from the lungs. No abdominal pressure that might force post-mortem vocalization. Nothing. But I knew what I heard. I proceeded with the embalming. Every step by the book. Femoral access, 5% fluid concentration. Left hand guiding the cannula, right hand controlling the rate. Features set, cavity aspirated, sutures firm. She embalmed well, textbook even, but the whole time I kept glancing at the underside of that table, as if the sound might return. It never did. I documented the embalming as usual, initialed the form, updated the system, but in the comments field I typed something I never had before. Delayed due to emergency removal. No decomposition noted. Room felt off. Whispering sound noted. Table 2. I've only shown that note to one person. Lydia, our senior funeral director. She's seen her share of odd things over 40 years. She read the entry, looked up at me, said quietly, "That's why I never use the second table at night." I didn't ask her to explain, because some things don't need to be understood, just respected. And that woman was the last unembalmed body I ever left overnight.